Hosted services and the cloud are the latest buzzwords across the reseller community. In this show, leading providers highlight customer benefits and reseller opportunities offered by these new technologies.
If I just look around who's exhibiting here and what they're talking about, hard to find a stand that isn't talking about hosted something, hosted VoIP particularly, hosted applications of some form. If you really want your business to be around for more than the next couple of years, I think you need to be looking at that hosted in the cloud world, whether it be hosted voice or hosted any other application.
When you're talking about the hosted solutions, you've no risk until you sell it. So we've had to turn our commissioning models around, so we have our own experience of doing that. Talking with the principals, a lot of them have sold connections for years. It is the same. Some of them do struggle with that whole mentality of when do you pay the commission for the salesperson, when's the risk, because obviously some of these contracts these end users can get out of quite easily. It's a lot harder when you put a physical PBX system in to rip it out and not pay for it. So obviously the hosted solution does to get a degree of churn, so you have to be on top of your customers and making sure their experience is a lot better, because they feel they can churn a lot easier. Now, in reality, once they put a hosted solution in, the software, their reliance is on you probably greater than before. So, as I said, if they're a trusted customer and the relationship's there, then the hosted solution is just an extension of that trust they have with you. I think there's some trends there that are wider than our market. They are cultural trends, and I was having a drink with a friend. His business of 25 people all use salesforce.com, don't have storage on site anywhere, all have iPads and iPods and the iPhones. They're all obviously hosted solutions. The owners of the company are the new generation of they don't need to see it. But the money that was made out of it, they still have a trusted advisor who sold them the trunk that it all works off, the storage, the security. In the end, they still had a trusted advisor that sold them that piece of it. That person was just earning a different way rather than one big lump sum up front.
You've got some people who are natural risk takers, who are the early adopters, and they will take on a new technology just because it's a new technology. And then you've got what I would call probably the niche, the real demand. So people like, estate agents. Estate agents are very distributed. It's expensive for them to have IT support, but they've got very small offices. They all need to run Word and maybe PowerPoint, Excel. So actually, in the same way as hosted voice did really well in the serviced office market, or in a market where you've got, I remember building sites. So builders would take it because they would set up a site for 6 months. You put in a hosted voice solution and it would move on. So that's a situation where demand is driving the product. But I think until you see some of these issues around security and speed and trust, until those start to get resolved, you're not going to see a massive J-curve in adoption of cloud. And you're going to see it initially in areas where there's a clear demand, and then gradually as probably the big guys create the change in behavior. So people like Microsoft, BT, they have the power to move the market and change behavior. Fundamentally, it makes sense to the company for economical reasons. If I said to you, would you rather spend 400 quid on office or pay £30 a month and not have to have any server or operating system upgrades or hardware refreshes, then you do it. But no one's coming to a reseller and saying, I want hosted office.
There is a supposition out there that this is Cisco high-end solution in the enterprise space and not for us. But we've been being very vocal in talking to people about, you can have a hosted voice solution that can make sense for a four-man business, for example, that could literally change the way they work. And I'm quite a believer in the fact that hosted applications and services work very well in the of the SME space, which is where an awful lot of our resellers and dealers operate.
where we are now with things like hosted desktop, to a lesser extent hosted mail, people are used to hosting their mail, but hosted CRM, I think probably if you look back to 2006 when people launched hosted voice, we're at that sort of stage where anyone that's invested in building a platform is going to be talking it up, and but the reality is actually the demand is quite small. So there are certain triggers that will give us a surge in demand for hosted desktop, and those are really speed and reliability of connectivity. They've got to buy from a trusted partner, and there are still some technical issues around using things like Microsoft products in a sort of remotely hosted environment. You know, for example, Microsoft won't allow you to run the applications locally in a sort of an applet way. So it means that if you're trying to do hosted Word, for example, and you're in a plane or on a train, it doesn't work. And so there are a number of things which have to happen before you're going to see a real takeoff.
BT as an organisation is better placed than most to make the large-scale investments that enable the cloud, essentially. So somebody somewhere is building big data centres and all of the end-to-end application assurance and application quality assurance to underpin that raft of innovation and growth and clever ideas, and what the channel is particularly good at, accessing that small business market.
I think that scalability and flexibility is one of the key benefits of the whole hosted piece, and that is again becoming more and more understood. And I think the resellers and dealers that operate in that SME space are absolutely crucial in getting that message out there. You know, we really do believe that a lot of the SME customers prefer to buy from locally based dealers and resellers, people they know and trust and understand.
Customers don't have to kind of worry about the big upfront investments if they're spending money on IT and hardware upfront. That for them it comes completely out of the situation. For an outsourcer, we take away that cost by having our data centres. It's got HP kit throughout. It's a purpose-built facility. It's a £10 million data centre at Hull, and that takes away the pressures on organisations to having to kind of fund that upfront. And all they're doing is they're just literally paying for paying for what you use. It's literally a monthly payment they can just run through for whatever they need. So if their business scales upwards or downwards, they can manage that accordingly, and there's no real investment for them.
In a difficult economic period, that gives us great opportunities, especially if you're talking hosted, next generation network cloud services. It's CapEx light, it's maintenance free. So I think there's a great opportunity, and people are really addressing now, you know, where they can actually hit their particular vertical with CapEx light products that a consumer is very mindful of. They need to be prudent.
I think it's a leap of faith, and I think it is all of a sudden we don't want to buy a tin anymore because that costs a lot of money, and I think it's also the fact that I think the product's matured, so there's now more and more reasons. And of course the main kicker for all these changes is not that it's more stable, it's more productive in terms of processes and everything else, but price as well, and that really has helped the situation. One of the larger companies we landed just recently, about 45 of their people are mobile. And we've demonstrated to them that with a laptop, with a soft client, with a headset and plugging into a Wi-Fi somewhere or into a network card, you know, they're making tremendous savings by not using mobiles and what have you. And of course that helps the process of what they're doing, because at the same time they've got the laptop open, they're sending the orders through, they're doing the processing of what they do as a job or for a living. So, you know, for all these reasons, it's now become more, I think, of an exciting proposition for companies, and they can see the future in it.
Griffin was predicated the last 5 years on a vision of the hosted desktop on the cloud. So all this connectivity is leading up to a situation where we're probably 2/3 of the SME market will buy their applications by the month, by the seat from the cloud.